I am here today with Sunlighten co-founder Connie Zack. I'm so happy to be back speaking with you, Connie. Thank you so much for joining us today with Natural Heart Doctor. I know that I talk to patients all the time about saunas, so I am excited to dive into this conversation. So looks
Thanks for
like we
having me. Been
got
looking
a
forward to this all day.
good. Thanks so much for making time for us. Looks like we got good amount of people joined here. All right. So again, welcome, Connie Zack. Thank you so much for joining us again with Sunlighten Sauna. If you would, tell me a little bit about what brought you into the business of saunas.
Yeah, it's a crazy, crazy story. It's really been an amazing journey. I've always been passionate about wellness, and I was actually in pharma and working for Procter and Gamble in the pharmaceutical industry when my brother was really sick and couldn't figure out what was wrong with him. And it was finally when his dentist told him that he thought that my brother, Jason, was leaking mercury from his amalgam fillings into his body. And that's what was causing all the fatigue and the vertigo and the nausea and just the overall malaise. He literally couldn't get out of bed, couldn't keep a job because he couldn't get out of bed. And it was horrible. And then his dentist not only said, I think you have heavy metal toxicity, but then also said, I've been doing some reading, and infrared is a technology that can pull out mercury from the body and to help you detoxify and get rid of this mercury because it's so heavy, it's hard to get rid of.
Yeah.
And so my brother first bought a blanket, and that just didn't do enough. And so he then went to getting an infrared sauna, and it changed his life. Literally, it changed his life. A completely different person.
Wow.
Slowly but surely, it was a process, but slowly but surely, every day felt a little bit better. And I watched the whole process and I was like, oh my goodness, this is actually a cure versus everything I was doing on the
Right.
pharmaceutical side. We were helping, and I was passionate about helping people. I was on a lot of the boards of the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. I was working on the cardiovascular area, and I was doing everything I could with doctors and patients to help people be healthier. But ultimately, we were helping them take medication and figure out how to do that in the safest way. We weren't really solving anything. And
Yeah.
when my brother solved this with infrared, with an infrared sauna, I was like, oh my gosh,
This is healing.
this is amazing. And then I started doing my own research way back then. It's over 20 some years ago. And I saw there was an abundance of research, and at that time, I was so locked into research and studies and looking at the
Hmm.
stat-sig scores and looking at all of the different methods and materials. And so I really quickly went through a lot of studies, and a lot of the studies were actually better than the studies that we were putting on for pharmaceuticals, especially when it came to blood pressure and endothelial lining and triglycerides and all these different types of healing impact from infrared. And I was like, oh my goodness, we've got to
Yeah.
educate the world. And so that was a longer answer than I normally do, but
No, that was so because you hit on, I think, the fact that you witnessed the body, you have to get out of its own way. You witness the body
yes.
healing itself. And coming from a background of conventional medicine, which is suppressing symptoms and hopes that that aids in overall wellness, but rather you're saying, you know what? No, this is evidence-based medicine. It's just not pharmaceuticals that are making people lots of money.
Yeah.
So,
And there was no, at that time, no companies funding anything. There was no financial support. There was no attention to
mhm,
it. And it was something that you do in the comfort of your own home. So you don't go to,
yeah,
to see a doctor per se. A lot of people did. My brother tried to, but there weren't any answers. And to watch somebody you love go from being, so miserable and so young and not being able to run or exercise or do anything to being able to go for runs and get his life back. It was really one of the most rewarding things that I've ever experienced. And then
wow,
starting the business, of course, that was a little bit more of a challenge, but take it day by day and inch by inch, and happy that I did.
I'm sure. Well, I can imagine seeing that level of healing and your brother who, not being himself. You're like, how can I not go with my whole life being, it changed your life, it sounds, watching that level of
He did.
healing.
It changed his. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I've got to do something that is bigger than myself and
Mhm.
is out of is in a cure way, in a way that it's really making significant transformative change and helping somebody, not only having them heal themselves directly, but then you deal with the mental aspect that goes with the domino. I mean, it's really whole body healing.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I slowly but surely just bit off. I didn't know anything about infrared. So it's really crazy when I think back of I just studied and studied and studied. And I did 2 jobs for a while. Aaron
Wow.
quit first, and we mortgaged everything we had, cars and homes, and begged banks to give us money. It's crazy.
Well, I know that even personally, I've got a ton of patients who are thankful that you did just that because
Aw.
anytime it comes to sauna, and I talk to patients literally every single day about the benefit of regular sauna use. And I say that lightly. I should be further elaborating on the fact that it's sauna and infrared because that's truly, if we're talking about evidence-based healing, sauna and infrared are two completely huge avenues of wellness, really. And then we are doubling that up. So I think that that's a huge matchup and something that, again, is so massively beneficial for immune health and cardiovascular function and the circulatory system and cognitive health. And so there's so many incredible benefits. So I can only imagine how much you had to read through and learn about through developing a product like this.
Yeah, so it was extensive. And at that time, and this was 20, almost 25 years ago. This is a long time ago. And this was when the internet was just starting, and my brother created a website and nobody came to it because you had to spend money to have people come to it, but nobody knew anything about infrared. And so it was not only studying the infrared technology and how it can benefit, it was also trying to figure out how to how to take this complicated wavelength, because infrared is not easy. It's a complicated technology, and having to peel back the onion and think, not only do I need to understand it, I want to master it. I want to be able to develop the highest quality, most effective, most efficient product. I didn't want other people to take as long as my brother did. It took a long time. It felt like
Yeah.
forever, but we noticed progress. So it's kind of okay, stay the course, through the course, through the course.
Yeah. I know
But
it's right.
now people are able to game changing. There's studies with one session that can help depression. There's just so much data now. It's really, really rewarding to see all the science
Yeah.
evolve over the years.
I'm sure. And another thing that I like to tell patients too, because having access to a sauna and then having one at home and having access to the infrared at home is two completely different things. Because when you're going to the YMCA or you some regular gym down the street that has maybe a sauna, well, you don't know what chemicals the person sitting in it before you were using or not using, what materials are used in the build of that sauna. Does it have infrared? Probably not. So if you could elaborate maybe on why Sunlight and how you developed it, it was different. It was a more effective product.
Yeah. So it's really the foundation is the infrared wavelength. And the infrared wavelength works directly with the body versus heating the air. And that's really the fundamental difference is a traditional sauna, like at the YMCA or at resorts that you go to that's really hot. You can have them with steam, you can have rocks, there's electric, there's all sorts of different ways to deliver the heat, but you are getting hot because the air is hot. And there's a benefit to that, absolutely. So that's the mode of action is the air is hot, then you're hot. With infrared, the wavelength works directly into the body. It is absorbed into your cells. I always like to say it supercharges your cells. It
Mhm.
is the Energizer Bunny wavelength. It's just the way, like your body is so happy to receive this powerful wavelength, and then it starts to respond and it starts to help with your water molecules. And there's begins this beautiful flow of energy once the wavelength is received, and everything, you just picture inside your body, everything starts to move around. That movement is how you get so many benefits, because not only do you as a doctor know that you have to coach people and guide people to move externally,
Right.
you need to move your body. You also need to really be as healthy as you can be. You need to move your body internally as well. And infrared is the magic that helps to get everything flowing, helps to increase oxygen. It helps to get your blood flowing all throughout your
Mhm.
body, which we could talk about the impact
Right,
of
right.
that. But what we did is started to focus and specialize with that technology. And then we just kept drilling down deeper and deeper and deeper. What materials do we need to use in order to get the maximum absorption into the body? We looked at it like, food or multivitamin or supplements. When you're taking something, you don't want any waste, right? You want to have the
Right.
highest concentration of the active ingredient possible. You don't want fillers. And with infrared, if you don't do it right, there's a lot of fillers. And you don't want that when you're trying to detoxify and trying to help your body be as healthy as possible. You really want, the visual I always had in my head is, you want to create a funnel that when what comes out at the very, very end is the highest absorption possible, so that when it enters into your body, you're getting the most amount.
Right.
And that's what we have done. That's what we've spent years, and we patented everything. So, and the only reason I mentioned patents is just it gives you and everybody else peace of mind that there isn't going to be a more effective infrared available, because there
Mhm.
isn't. What makes infrared so effective is, again, the highest absorption possible, as well as the right frequency, and we've mastered both of those at Sunlighten.
That's just incredible. And I like that you talk about the way that it impacts the cell, because if we think about, oh, I want a good heart, I want good cognitive function, I want my brain to be healthy, I want my hormones to be healthy. None of that matters if our cells don't assimilate things appropriately. If our cells aren't functioning, if they're not communicating appropriately, it's all for nothing, because we don't have proper management of the cellular membrane, so there's no interface that's actually working appropriately. So cellular health is and should be at the core of everything I do. But really, I mean, everything that we're putting into our body, we are what we eat, we are what we're exposed to, we are what we consume. So at a very cellular
Exactly.
level.
Yeah, and I really think, well, not that I think, like, all of the data supports the fact that it is your cells that impact how you age,
Mhm.
right? So all the hallmarks of aging all come back to the healthiness of your cells, and how are you slowing down the aging process, or I hope not, but how are you accelerating the aging process? And it's not just about externally, you really have to get deep. And that's what makes infrared special, is because it's working on your mitochondria, it's working on your
Mhm.
ATP. I mean, it's working with your water molecules, it's working
Mhm.
with your heart rate and the flow. It's really taking charge and getting your cells as healthy and as happy and as active as possible, so that all the cascade throughout all of your different systems starts to take effect.
And you mentioned mitochondria, and I think that that's really, of course, the key for cellular energy, cellular health, because if we can say, oh, let me take copious amounts of CoQ10 and this supplement, or whatever flavor of the month is the buzzword. But truly, I mean, the health of our mitochondria is what dictates how rapidly we're aging or not. So in terms of, we of course deal a lot with cardiovascular health here, and our heart being very, very dense in mitochondria, it's really hard to fully support the many demands of the heart muscle tissue. So I think that getting something aside from just something that we put into our body, send it into our gut and cross our fingers that it's supporting our mitochondria, having the light exposure, the infrared exposure, I think that's a really good way outside of just supplements and so on to further support your longevity.
I agree. I think it's a great way to help your supplements,
Mhm.
right? Because if you're just taking supplements and you're not doing anything to impact your cells, then who knows, what's going to happen. But if you're doing both,
Mhm.
then you're going to increase your absorption, you're going to increase the impact. You're also, even before you take a supplement, gosh, you're just going to feel so much better. So many times I was trained at P&G in the pill department, and I loved the company, and I learned so much. And everybody wants to just be able to take a pill and feel better. So I 100% get it. What I have learned is it takes more than that. And
Mhm.
it takes knowing how your body is responding and following the signs. If you're really fatigued and all this, just taking a pill probably is not going to make a difference.
Yeah.
So that's what I love so much about infrared. I love the energy level
Mhm.
that it delivers to your body. And part of that is with the mitochondria, you're making more ATP, you're making more engines, you're like revving up a car that hasn't had any attention, it hasn't had any tune-ups in a long time. That's what you're doing with infrared. It's like all of a sudden I'm getting air in my tires, I'm getting more engines, I'm getting more horsepower, and now I have this shiny new car that's ready to go. And
Mhm.
all I did was enter in this type of energy into it.
Yeah. Well, and I think that what I love about that is, yes, you're revving up your cellular production, your cellular energy, but people are like, well, I've actually got these palpitations and these rapid heart rate. So it's not actually going to negatively affect you. It's going to benefit you because it's improving the autonomic nervous system balance and shifting you towards a more sympathetic nervous system. So you
Yes.
actually feel rest and digest, but your cells are like powered up. So you don't
Yeah.
feel amped up and Energizer Bunny like bounding out of your chest, because even just after one session, infrared is shown to improve the parasympathetic nervous system response.
Yeah. I always say it's the perfect marriage for your autonomic nervous system because immediately it just helps put you in that parasympathetic state. However, you're also getting energy that's helping you burn calories and help giving you passive cardiovascular conditioning.
Hmm.
The getting back to the flow that starts to happen inside your body is so powerful. So powerful. I mean,
Hmm.
it's really crazy when you think that you can just sit at home inside a comfortable space and have such a positive impact so quickly.
Hmm.
So it's, as you can tell, I love the technology.
Well, I love that you're so passionate about it, because and truly, we could, and we're not going to, but we could go on and on about the many benefits that have been found. But I really did want to hit on that term you use, the passive cardiovascular. So if you could elaborate a little bit on that and what's found, maybe what you mean by
Yeah.
passive cardiovascular.
So the cardiovascular arena, that part of the body has been the most studied for the longest with infrared. I was reading articles, like I said, back 20 some years ago. And since then, it's been repeatedly over and over and over again. We actually also did a trial with the University of Missouri, Kansas City in 2005 and showed a statistically significant reduction in blood pressure. And it was a robust study. It was a placebo-controlled randomized double-blind study. So it was not like it was a big deal. So as far as the passive side, there's a lot of research. And if anybody wants to do more, a deep dive on their own, then you should search for a type of therapy called WAON, WAON. And essentially what it is it stands for soothing warmth, and it's using infrared heat to warm the body. And as I already talked about, when you're warming the body, you're actually supercharging your cells quickly, right? So when you're doing that, you can do it. All the way on studies, it's only 15 minutes. And what happens is that you start to get all of these benefits with the heart. You start to get better blood flow, reduction in morbidity and mortality,
Hmm.
reduction in hospitalization rates, helps with CAD and CHF. And all you're doing is sitting there for 15 minutes. And then they follow it up. They get out of the infrared and then put themselves in a blanket. That's the way that the trials were done.
Hmm.
I would recommend staying in and just working up to doing it a little bit longer and a little bit longer, and you'll get all of those passive cardiovascular benefits. So what happens is, to take it one step further, is infrared is an exercise mimetic. And what I mean by that is it copies the benefits of exercise, but you're not physically moving because the infrared wavelength is moving all of everything inside. So it starts to, as it's absorbed, then it starts to increase your blood flow. That blood flow starts to carry oxygen. So it gets to your tissues in your brain, which is probably one of my favorite benefits. I can feel it right away. It goes from that brain feeling where you just have this like mind fog and you just have your brain so full. And then you get inside your sauna and all of a sudden it's like you press the empty trash button and it just empties the trash and you have this clarity and so much energy. So it's very similar to exercise. If you go for a really brisk walk or you go for a run or you do something, you feel so much better, you get so much more energy. It's the same type of thing. So it's again that passive cardiovascular conditioning that you get inside the sauna. And then when you're done, you just come out so much more energized, so your head's so much clearer. You actually start to release happy hormones and start to decrease the hormones that are causing you stress. So cortisol, it helps to, at the beginning, the cortisol will spike a little bit because that's normal because you're having some heat stress on the body. But then the more you do it, the more that it starts to decrease it. And so you just notice. And the other thing I love about this passive cardiovascular effect is what happens is your body starts to crave it. And you're like, because it feels so good. And so and your body responds. The body is so smart. If you listen to it and follow it, it's, oh, I really want to do that today. Then do it and get in. And you'll notice the most important thing is consistency. I always say consistency is better than intensity. And the more you do it, the better impact and the better results you're going to have. And the more you'll want to do it.
I think that it's important to note that a lot of the studies that have been done on both infrared and sauna, it shows that frequency between 4 and 7 times a week are the most profound effects on reduction of Alzheimer's disease, reduction of systolic and diastolic blood pressure, improvement in ejection fraction. So those patients with congestive heart failure. So we see the significant effect, and a lot of it can be really taken down to the level of, it increases nitric oxide and improves mitochondrial function. Just those two things alone have profound systemic effects because your heart and your brain are the most dense tissues, some of the most dense tissues, I should say, in the body of mitochondria. While I'm on that topic, I might as well throw in there that the most dense are actually your reproductive, so like your testes and your ovaries. So if you're thinking reproductive health, then I might as well just throw that out there. So you can always benefit from infrared and sauna when considering reproductive health as well.
Agreed.
I want to open maybe the chat and see if there's any specific questions, because I know that we've got over 25 minutes in here. We could go on and on about the many benefits, but I want to open the floor and see if there's any specific questions from the audience that maybe they have about sauna use. I know that one thing actually, before we jump right into the chat, I wanted to ask, I know I get a lot of questions about this. We have a lot of patients that I don't have room in my house for the full sauna. Is the Sunlighten Solo as beneficial in terms of all of these health benefits that we've mentioned here today?
Yeah, the Sunlighten Solo is just is a special product, and it's really the product that we learned how to master all the different wavelengths. And that is the one that was used in the UMKC trial. So, and when inside information, or it's not really inside, but I don't usually talk about this, but it's important to know is when we use the Sunlighten Solo, which is a lie down model, it's so easy to use. It could not be easier. You can put it anywhere. There's no space that it can't fit in. You lie down and you turn it on and you're in heaven. It's wonderful. And there's heaters all the way from the bottom of your feet all the way up. Most people leave their neck out. I like to leave not neck, I like your face out. I like to leave my face out. And sometimes I'll put on a collagen mask on my face. Sometimes I'll put on like some oils. Sometimes I'll do a different type of mask. But it just is so good to really get you to relax. What I was going to say is when we did the trial with UMKC, we had not invented the Solo Pad yet, which has 4 heaters and it goes underneath you. So in the trial, the Solo only had, I should say only, but had 5 of our proprietary Sunlighten low carbon heaters. And since then, we've enhanced and upgraded it to have the pad as well. So the whole, we call it the system, the Sunlighten Solo system, you can lie on a pad that is heated, that has the highest quality far infrared heaters on the market. And then when you're up above you, the Solo has 5 of the
Wow.
heaters. Yeah, it's intense. It is, there is a control, so you can elevate the heat to much hotter, or you can have it, I particularly like the middle range, but a lot of people will start off just doing the lower range at the very, very beginning. You'll know your body will respond. Again, the energy is bypassing the air, so it's going directly into your body. You will start to feel that just inner warmth, and you'll start to sweat like from your head, which is like so interesting to me because your head's not in there, right? But it increases your core temperature and it increases the oxygen, and it's really one of the most relaxing products out there. And you don't feel, if you get that product, that you are making any sacrifice with the wooden cabins, because that is so not true. It works just as good, and there's been so many studies with it. So
Good, good. Well, yeah, I think that that's people think maybe they're cutting corners, but
yeah,
it
it's you
doesn't sound like that's the
not.
case at all.
No, it's a great solution. It's a great way to get started, and you don't have to get the pad if you want to save. If it's all about saving money, which I 100% get, then start off with just the Solo by itself, and then you can work up to getting the pad. You'll eventually want to get the pad just because you can also use the pad by itself, which is lovely, but you can just start off with just the Solo.
Good. No space too small.
No, and it's telescopic. So the upper dome fits down, doesn't fold, but it fits down into the lower dome. And it's like about 2 feet by 3 feet that you can stack it back. When we started the company, we used to have it in our living room, and we would put it on stand it up, and then put a plant on top of it. So that, I know, so that it kind of like went away, but then we just take the plant off and then take it in the living room. We had a very, very, very small house, and we also kept adding saunas outside in the garage. It was also, it was our business, but also our showroom and the place where we showcased everything. So
That's
there's
awesome.
saunas in every single room in the house. It was
You're like, there's
hysterical.
nobody that can't have a sauna.
Right. Yes, exactly.
We had a question come in. What infrared wavelengths are used in these saunas? And is it include the far, near infrared? If you could elaborate maybe a little bit on that.
Yeah, so the Solo has far infrared and has 99% absorption. And far infrared, if you only could get one of the infrared wavelengths, and there's officially 3, but I'll explain why it's got 3/4 in a second. So far infrared is the foundation. That's the one, when you talk about cardiovascular health, all of the data and all of the research and the way on, all of that was with far infrared. Far infrared is absorbed so deeply, and that's what gets into your mitochondria and your water molecules, and starts the actual like dancing of your water molecules, like moving around and starting to flow, and it causes the increase in core temperature, it causes the increased oxygenation, it causes the increase in heart rate, it causes the increase in flow. So that's, which also leads to detoxification, et cetera. So there's far infrared. Mid infrared is the sister or brother of far infrared. It's a little bit hotter. And so because it's a little bit hotter, it's not absorbed as deeply. And it's really great for your joint and your joints and your tissues. It also helps far infrared with weight loss and some other benefits. And then near infrared is completely invisible, and it is, you really, in order to receive the highest quantity of near infrared, you have to convert it from heat to light. Even though on the light you can't see it, it's delivered by LEDs. And near infrared has an abundance of benefits as well, but it's a superficial wavelength. So it works directly, it penetrates the skin. So that's how you get benefits with near infrared. And then red light is the same thing, but it doesn't go as deep as near infrared. So if you want to summarize it, there's 2 wavelengths that you feel by heat, which is far and mid.
Mhm.
and then 2 wavelengths that you feel via light, which is near, which is invisible, and then red, that's visible. And ideally, if you're shooting for the stars, you would love to have all 4, because then
Mhm.
you're getting the most highest comprehensive, biggest, most effective longevity hack you could ever have. It is like the best thing for aging if possible. If you can't, and you could only have 1 wavelength, then start with far infrared.
Okay. And so are we getting mostly, you said 90% infrared, far infrared from the Sunlighten products?
You're getting the far infrared is 99% absorbed.
Right.
So it's the high, and that's the patent. So
Hmm.
you can't get more, you can't get 100% the way the technology works. So
Hmm.
you're getting the most amount that you can possible with the Sunlighten products. Yes.
Incredible. Okay, let's see here. So let me kind of get through some questions and see if there's some overlap, maybe some multiple questions. Some questions about temperature and frequency.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'll let you take that away.
Yeah. So temperature, this is so important. You know how I talked about at the beginning, how the difference between infrared and traditional gets really hot, and you get hot because the air is hot.
Hmm.
Traditional temperature is a measure of success. If you go into a traditional sauna and it's 90 degrees, you're not going to get hot because the air is not hot.
Hmm.
So temperature matters in traditional. Infrared, it doesn't matter. It's like a light bulb, the way the technology works. When it's on, it's on.
Hmm.
And you don't have to wait for it to get to a certain temperature, because temperature doesn't matter. It's energy medicine. It's the transfer of
Right.
energy into the body. And when I turn it on, that energy, it's being absorbed. It's no different than when you go into a room and you turn on the light, you turn the light on, it's on. And
Right.
that you can see it. And so that's the answer to, did I answer all of that? We talked about infrared wavelengths. Did I cover all of that? If I didn't, okay, so somebody says my sauna only goes up to 130 degrees. If it's a Sunlighten sauna, that's 100% fine. So I would, because you're getting the absorption of this energy the moment you turn it on, and you're actually getting the most amount because the wavelength is the longest. So it's the most easily absorbed into the body. As it heats up, the wavelength starts to get a little bit shorter and shorter, and it's just not as absorbed as quickly or as efficiently as it is when it's long. So I would not at all. If you have a Sunlight, I can't speak to other brands. I can, but that's not really the point of this. So, but if you have a Sunlight, I would not at all worry about temperature. I like to think of temperature as, if you want to think about it, as a way to measure, not measure, but as a way to guide your experience. So you're in
Hmm.
there and you're like, oh, wow, I like had a great session and it was 100 degrees. Okay, great. Do that again. Or I feel so great afterwards. I had the best night's sleep and it was 120. That's just it's just a good guide. No different than if you bike, you're like, oh, I would like to have my tension on this level.
And I think that it's, again, back to the idea that it's really energy medicine. It's not so much as we've got to turn on these heat shock proteins and really do this stressful situation on our body in terms of heat, because we're still, even at a lower temperature, absorbing the energy improvement in our cellular health.
And on that note, with heat shock proteins, because I was just on a panel with some functional medicine physicians, and they were sharing, which we share, sounds great when they share it, all of the data with infrared and activating heat shock proteins. So you don't need to have extremes in order to activate heat shock proteins and get the detoxification benefits and get the immune benefits. You can get it with lower temperatures with infrared because it's working with your cells and not
Mhm.
the air.
Excellent. Why would you not use it on your face? Is there a reason why? If you're in anything other
You
than the solo, you can use it. You
you
can
can
use it
you
on your
can use it
face.
on your face, and there's a lot of people when we first developed the solo that would go down in and pull the thing up, pull the because you can pull the dome over your face if you want. It's a personal thing. I really, when I take my solo, I like to have my head out and I like to habit stack. So a lot of times at night I forget to do my masks, or I forget to do different things. And so it's a great time to put it on. Or I put I have those eye, like little cold eye things. So I'll put that on. So it's a personal preference, but you can absolutely put your face in at any time.
Let's see here.
I saw
With two,
well,
yeah, go ahead.
sorry, I saw one on length, which is important. So start slow, just so you can so you can see how your body responds. So start like 10, 15 minutes. Use kind of the Weigh On trials as a guide, and then work up. We have found over the years that there is what I call like a tipping point around 30 minutes. That 30 to 40 minute is pretty spectacular. So that would be my goal, is to work up to that. But ultimately it's an N of one study, right? Like everybody, that's what's so great about it. It's like you can just do it however you want to do it, and see how it impacts you, and then do that again. And back to the consistency, I'd rather see you do it 15 minutes consistently than once a week for 40.
That's usually what I tell patients is if you can do 15 minutes 4 times a week, that's a really good goal. If you can do it 7 days a week, maybe even better. But I think consistency is key here for sure. Is it good for leaky gut? I think that I'll let you speak on that, but
Yeah, well, the whole gut benefit, it's actually a hallmark of aging, and we have lots of data with Sunlighten infrared and the hallmarks of aging, and it just really helps put back your body to like a normal state. And so there's so many gut benefits because of the way that a lot of your genes are activated, like the inflammation gene is activated. You're starting to have this biochemical cascade inside your body that impacts every single system. And when you're impacting all of your system, you're helping, forget the sweat for a moment, you're helping to like help your gut and your kidneys and your livers and all of your different organs, and you're getting the systemic benefit. And so that so many people, and I have a good friend here that's in Kansas City, a doctor, functional medicine doctor, and somebody with leaky gut. It's one of the first things she says, so you need to get inside a Sunlighten sauna.
yeah. Yeah, and again, back to, okay, if we boil it down to what notable differences do we see? Well, we improve circulation. That's going to help your gut. If we improve nutrient delivery to the gut itself, improvement there. Cellular function, so cellular membranes are improved, your gut membranes improved. And then also, again, back to the parasympathetic state. So if you're in better rest and digest, and you're not in this chronic state of fight or flight, you're not going to be eating away at your gut tissue like you are when, my gut's in knots, I've got this gut feeling. Like our mind-body connection is real. So if we're in a more parasympathetic state, absolutely gut healing.
Yep. Well said. Beautifully.
Somebody asked it, I think, a really interesting question. Do you recommend staying warm afterwards with a warm shower, or actually do the contrast hydrotherapy of doing a cold shower?
So that depends on your goal. They both have benefits. Keeping both, it just depends on your goal. Is resilience to one of your goals? Then going to contrast and cold is great. Are you trying to do more shock and stress? It just depends. I like to have my body, most of the time I like to keep my body, my core temperature up as long as possible. It makes you healthier, it helps your immune system. There's so many benefits. That's a personal thing. But if I want that mood change, that mood shock and everything, then cold is great. So you just have to know what your desired outcome is, and know that both of them will deliver different things, but both equally good depending on what you're trying to achieve.
Good. Good. Yeah. If you want a little dopamine hit, maybe splash cold, and good. And then one more quick question, because I know we're wrapping up here, but one more quick question. Does the infrared go through clothing?
Yes, it can, because it's absorbed, but it's much easier to be absorbed the less you have on, because of that. If you just picture a wavelength, right? If you could picture lighting up
barriers.
You just picture lighting it up, the more barriers you have blocking that to being absorbed into your body, the longer it's going to take and the less that's going to be absorbed. So I recommend as little as possible. One more thing, because I know we're wrapping up. I do want to make sure and recommend hydration. That's really important. That's like the one thing you would need to pay attention to because of that passive cardiovascular conditioning benefit we talked about. It's easy to forget because you're not physically moving, right? And you're not like running, you're enjoying yourself. But it's really important both before, during, and after. If you don't want to do during, that's 100% fine, but do before and after. You will also notice if you do before, you will have a more effective session because you're getting your body prepared and you're getting your body hydrated. And then my last thing I'll say is to make sure you're feeding your body with electrolytes too.
Perfect. Love it. Absolutely. I was going to say, we got to start the cellular health and cellular hydration whole cascade before we work on improving the cellular health. And one last thing, we do have a special offer that's being given to us by Sunlighten. So if you would maybe elaborate a little bit on that for us.
Yep, we should have the link in the notes, right? And you're getting the exact details. It depends on the model, but we are offering all of you up to $1,700 off, which is significant. And again, it depends on the model, but the key is this offer is good through September 10th.
Cool. So 1 week, check it out. Thank you so much, Connie, for joining us again. I hope that you all learned something. So thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us here and teach us a little bit about infrared and sauna.
Of course, anytime. Happy to do it.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us today and for posing your questions. Thank you so much for your time and have a wonderful afternoon.